Hey everyone, I'm Mike Holmes Jr. and this is Holmes at Home. So we've been doing this a lot this year, and in case you're tuning in for the first time, we've been doing this since the pandemic happened. So we're going to talk about everything we've been working on at home, some of our favorite projects, and I have a very special guest today, Darren Keefe. He's a host of Extreme Makeover Home Edition, DIY expert, designer, welder, and so much more. But first, before we get into that, I want to start by talking a little bit about this year. It's been a wild year for everyone involved, but I'm sure, like most of you, it's been a good time to get projects done at home. Some of the projects we've been working on, my wife Lisa Marie and myself, are building our raised garden beds. So for those of you who haven't seen it, we did a series on Instagram where we did our raised garden beds from start to finish. We built them out of stone. We had tons of fun building it. And if you haven't checked it out, head over to my Instagram, Mike Holmes Jr., and check it out. Let's start off with some questions, and then we can jump into our special guest. Linda, is duct cleaning a real thing? My house is always super dusty. I could dust every day. Would duct cleaning help? I always thought it was a farce. Our home is heated with natural gas. So Linda, you're actually dusting every day, probably because your ducts are filthy. So yes, duct cleaning is a real thing. I highly recommend getting a reputable company in your area. Much like any contractor, you're going to want to try and get a couple different references, and word of mouth always helps to find a good company to come in and clean your ducts. Hey, Carolyn, welcome. All right, let's see. Terry, what is the name of the orange product you use in the showers under the tile and mud? The orange product is Schluter. So the product that Schluter makes that you're probably talking about is Ditra. So Ditra is an uncoupling membrane. And what that means is that it actually allows your tile to expand and contract at a different rate than your subfloor, because they are different materials. They're going to expand and contract differently, which normally we would bond tile to the subfloor and they would crack because, again, they expand and contract at different rates. So Ditra helps with that, helps with expensive tile lasting a lot longer, and also it's a waterproof membrane, so it keeps mold out of the equation, and that's exactly what we want in our home. Brenda, when's the show coming back? We're working on that. I mean, obviously it's been an interesting year and it's slowed some things down, but we're still pumping through it. Rita, how do you know if a wall is a bearing wall? I want to remove it, but my husband is afraid the house will collapse. So Rita, you should be afraid, and please, for everyone watching this, do not tackle load-bearing walls. Do not tackle taking down walls in your home, period. I mean, there's engineers that are involved in this. There's permits that are involved. There are trained professional contractors that are involved in actually doing this and making sure that this happens seamlessly and smoothly so that your house doesn't collapse. So this is not a DIY job. This is not a do-it-yourself. Do not start taking down walls that you don't know if they're load-bearing or not. Next up, now that we've got some questions out of the way, Darren Keefe is going to join us. So let's welcome Darren.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, Darren. How about yourself?
I'm good. I just hope that you got to Rita before her husband took down the wall.
Yeah, no kidding.
You never know. They could be under a house right now.
Yeah. You and I might have to go do an extreme renovation and help them out, eh?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, Darren, you recently did Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I'm trying to say that right.
I know, it's a mouthful. Yeah, I did. Yeah, we just completed it end of last year. So it was a lot of fun.
And on the show, you're a host as well as carpenter, right?
Yes. Yeah. Host, Jesse Tyler Ferguson really takes on the role of the host. And then the three of us, Brigham Jane and Carrie Lachlan and I, are fortunate enough to kind of bring up the back end of it and interact with the families.
Right. Well, it takes a village, as I know, because we're a family-run business, and there's multiple hosts of us, and so I know what you mean.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, what got you into the television business? Because I just started following you on Instagram recently, and I've been creeping you. I've been going down all your pictures, and I love what you do, man. I love your woodworking. You seem very talented. You love to dance. I love that.
Hey, man, whatever breaks up the day.
Yeah.
I moved out to Los Angeles in 1998 to pursue a career in the entertainment business. I was an actor, and I was fortunate to work on some television shows. I did Sons of Anarchy and Lie to Me and Lost. And one way or another, I actually kind of fell into carpentry along the way. I'd worked for a GC in my teenage years in Ohio, and kind of circled back to it in my early 30s, and really fell in love with it again. More importantly, design. So that's really kind of how I fell into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's funny you talk about that because I've noticed your builds are very design savvy. Like they're very unique. They're very you. I'm guessing because you don't see a lot of style like that out there, which I like.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's important to me to kind of take my own road and own approach. Obviously, I think we find inspiration from all kinds of things, whether it's a line or shape that I see out in the urban atmosphere or wherever I might see it, or maybe I see a design that I really love and I'm able to build on that. So
Right. Now,
yeah.
what's your favorite part of carpentry? Like, is it building tables? Is it joinery? Is it design like you're saying?
I think it's design, but I think it's a mixed bag of everything. I think as there's some meditation in carpentry. It's that alone time that you get with yourself, and you get to kind of dig in and create and shape the wood and or steel if that's what you're working with. And that I'm really passionate about that. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to a friend recently, and he said, I've built a few things for my partner, and I found between renovations and woodworking, there's a very big difference. And that difference is that I feel very zen. I feel very relaxed when doing woodworking. And I
Yes.
find the same thing is that when I'm in my wood shop, it's just like I'm meditating. It's a meditative state. So actually, there's a picture. I made a
Oh,
Sushujiban mantle. Have you ever done that?
I have not done that. I had a friend in LA. He went through a period of doing that for all his pieces, and he made a giant mess in his garage, as you know, very messy.
Yeah.
But the projects came out beautiful. I'd love to see. I got to research that and take a look at some of your work because I really love that medium. It's very, very pretty.
Yeah, it's a really cool Japanese technique that they use to actually treat the wood, and they use a lot of it on the exterior of homes. It hardens it and it preserves the wood. So
Yeah.
you take a torch to it, you scrape it off, and then we used a linseed oil to finish it after. And I mean, making it sound a lot easier than it was. But don't play with fire. Obviously, Darren, you can do it. You're a professional. But for the folks at home, be careful what you're doing.
And be careful with the linseed too.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had some close calls with linseed.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
Oh yeah, man, you can't leave that stuff on a rag. For those of you at home, if you're treating something with linseed and you leave it on a rag, make sure you dispose of it properly because it is an accelerant and it can catch fire, as
Yeah,
I've learned.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. So you
yeah,
had to learn that the hard way.
I did. Yes, yes.
Ugh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Have you had any projects lately that really stick out? Like any of your favorite projects that you want to talk about?
I built a farmhouse table for a buddy of mine who had actually moved from Ohio to Los Angeles right before I left. It was kind of like my last project in LA. By the way, I'm currently in Charleston, South Carolina. I made a move from Los Angeles to South Carolina, and it was just fun. I did kind of an X setup with it, and it was a lot of fun doing those lap joints and. Kind of an easy project, but I used
Right.
some really great reclaimed wood, and it came out really nice.
Nice. Now I think the pictures we had up there, we pulled up the wrong ones, but that's all right. We'll
Oh
get
yeah,
to it. But South Carolina. So you went from LA to where was it?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. This is
Charleston.
day one. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is really. And how you liking it?
I mean, it's gorgeous here. I've been blessed to be able to visit here a couple times, and I kind of knew it was a place that I wanted to land. So I had a great time in Los Angeles. It's a great city full of a lot of things to do, but it was just time to make a change. And I have some opportunities out here. I'm going to be working with a builder who specializes in older homes. Homes
Nice.
built in the 1800s. So that's really exciting for me to renovate those guys and see some of that hand hewn timber.
Yeah.
Will be involved in those projects. So
Well,
yeah.
since you're going to be having, is that the table you're referring to?
No, that's a desk I actually did. That's a mid-century modern desk I did. I was inspired by the old school desks that
Yeah.
we sat behind as kids, and I kind of wanted to take a different spin on it.
Oh, it's a beautiful job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, since you're working on Century Homes, my wife and I did buy a Century home a few years back, and now we're living here full time. So maybe once, working on with that crew, maybe you can work your way up and give me a hand working on mine when you're done.
I would love to, man. Yeah. Oh, there's the table. That's it. That's the
Oh,
one. Yeah.
beautiful.
So simple design, but very fun. And the great thing about reclaimed, and I know reclaimed is kind of starting to phase out, but you
Hmm.
get so much character out of those tables just by using the reclaimed wood.
Absolutely, you do. And I built a similar table out of black walnut. I've done black walnut's my favorite type of wood to work with.
Oh, it's
That
gorgeous. Oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
that was my first table that actually got me into woodworking. So similar to what you were saying is I noticed you had breadboard ends on yours,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
all that is very difficult to tackle when it's, I don't know about you, when I just got into it, trying to figure out, okay, we've got to put the dowels in the breadboard ends to help pull everything together. And then
Right. Right.
I remember spending nearly a day prepping a breadboard end and then leaving and coming back the next day and seeing it completely cupped and twisted and having to start from scratch. I was like, wow, this is working with wood is so different than what I'm used to.
Well, first of all, that design, that picture that you just showed me is amazing. I'm not going to show you my first design because I would embarrass myself.
Oh, thanks,
But
man.
also, yeah, you're 100% right. I'm still learning about how wood moves, and now I've got to keep in mind, being in Charleston, it's obviously a higher humidity, and what
Yeah.
that does to the wood. So I'm going to be learning all over again, coming from a dry climate, to here. And I'm sure I'm going to face a lot of that same thing, that the wood twisting and bending, and especially when you're doing breadboard ends, you got the grains butting up against each other in different ways,
Yeah.
and you gotta leave room for it to move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but that's the fun part about it, right? It is
Yes.
finding out, all the different tricks and techniques. I swear, every build I do, I find out something else. But the one build I'd love to talk about is there's a guy. His name's Paul. He has an account on Instagram called Canadian Woodworks. So I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but I partnered up with them and I built my wife a rocking chair for our second year wedding anniversary, I think.
Oh,
And
amazing.
it was my favorite build. I think we have a picture of it here. There we go.
Oh, that is gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that is beautiful. Yeah.
So my
Yeah,
wife
there's
just shot me three fingers up. She said it's for our third year anniversary. So I was,
you're in
yeah,
trouble now. You're in
yeah.
trouble.
That was a test, honey. So good job. You passed the test. For everyone watching, it was a test.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a guy, I believe he's out of Canada. His name is, I follow him on Instagram, Garrowood. Do you know him?
Oh, yeah. He's out of Alberta. He
Yes.
actually. So funny enough, Garwood actually started working with Paul from Canadian Woodworks. He built his
Okay.
first rocking chair with him, and now he does like incredible work on
Yeah,
rocking
the
chairs.
the Maloof joints.
Yeah, Sam
Yeah,
Maloof.
there's a couple guys in LA, and I meant to take the class, but then COVID happened. There was classes on the Maloof joint, taught
Hmm.
by one of his apprentice, I think, that ended up in the LA area. So yeah, but he does
Yeah,
amazing work, and that rocking
yeah.
chair is amazing, man. You should be very, very proud.
Thank you. It's it took about 100 hours to put together, and I remember Paul saying to me, by the way, if I wasn't working with Paul, who had every template and every jig you could imagine for this build, this would
Right?
have taken me 200 hours plus. But lucky enough to have good people like him in the industry
Yeah.
to help lend a hand. But for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, Sam Maloof joints, the rocking chairs, I highly encourage you to head over to Instagram or Google. Check out Canadian Woodworks, Gara Wood, Sam Maloof. There's these incredible, talented woodworkers that have really changed the game for woodworkers like myself and Darren.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Really inspiring stuff.
Yeah. Now, something I want to talk about because I think this will be an interesting topic for both you and I is misconceptions of television reno shows.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
everyone I've had when I was in school for carpentry, I went to George Brown College to learn about carpentry, and I remember one of the teachers was there, and he's saying, I'm sick and tired of these shows making it seem like you can do a home reno and renovate an entire house in 30 minutes. And I had to stand up, and well, I didn't stand up, but I said, you realize that this is a television show, right? Like
Right.
we don't advertise and say that this is done in 30 minutes. I think most people can put it together that it's, takes a bit longer than that.
Right, right. Yeah, of course. Um, I will say though, however, with Extreme Makeover Home Edition, there is a little magic to that. We did build the houses in 5 days, which was unbelievable to watch. Now, I'll preface that with we had 500 volunteers and 500 skilled tradesmen on top of each other at once. So, and
Yeah.
it was pretty impressive to watch. I've done remodels and worked for, as I said, at GC, and there's always that. Crews sometimes, they're when they land on top of each other, there's can always be some friction, and
Yes.
so it was really amazing to watch. In the spirit of giving back, all these guys work together like a well-oiled machine on top of each other. The framers, the electricians, the plumbers, they're all working together. So
Yeah.
really
And I
cool.
think you actually worked with the same crew I worked with on Home Free. We did a show years ago. And we worked with the crew because similar style where we did a house a week.
Yeah,
And like you said, there's just so many people on site. But I mean, maybe we'll talk after and name
yeah,
drop because now it maybe I don't think people will be interested in hearing that. But it
yeah,
it does get crazy, like you said, when people are tripping over each other, working around the clock.
yeah.
What did you find getting into the television business and doing construction? What was your biggest misconception?
Um, Gosh, I think I think there's such a deep well of artists behind you,
Hmm.
that are there to kind of aid you through it. So I really thought, at least walking to into Extreme, that I was going to have to build a house by myself in 5 days.
Yeah.
so I was very happy that there were other people that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's a big
but
support group.
yes, yeah. So that was pretty awesome, and also just the camaraderie. I think that when I was a teenager and I worked for a GC, that was what I really loved about being on a job site was all the different characters that existed on the job site and getting to know each one of them. As these guys that are lifers, that are plumbers and electricians and yada yada yada. They're just great people,
Yeah.
full of stories, and some of them missing a couple fingers, but
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely run into a few of those, and you're
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of stories.
yeah,
Um, I found for myself, I always so when I started working in, I'll say construction, I worked for my dad,
yeah,
and this was during Homes on Homes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of the shows, but
yes.
um, I worked for him, and I was all about the construction. And I always thought, I'm not interested in TV, and I think my biggest misconception was like how much the two the tie together, how difficult that is. Because when I did make that transition in my early 20s and started doing more television, man, it was like, trying to juggle the two. It's a lot of work. Like
Uh,
people watch the shows and think that it's so easy. And,
yeah.
hosting alone is tough, but then also renovating a home.
Yeah, that was a skill that I had to learn, and I'm not even sure that I've mastered. Which is, it's, as if you're in the wood shop and you're building something, you know how to build it.
Yeah.
Now, describing that to someone while you're building it, that's a whole different. That's
Yeah.
like that's like doing one of these things.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. You did a
um,
good job.
right. So it's
Yeah.
it's a skill that you have to pick up, and that was definitely a learning curve for me. I think especially in the first episode of Extreme, I was definitely white knuckling it. But after that, it was great, and we had such a great time.
Yeah, it's great. It was a great show. I thought you did a great job on it. And Jesse Tyler Ferguson, obviously, he's awesome. And is it Bregan?
Yeah, Bregan Jane and
Bregan, yeah,
Harry Lachlan. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
They're very talented designer. So I've been following the crew and catching up. But if anyone hasn't watched the show, you should catch it. I'm sure it lives somewhere on HGUS online.
it does. It's on the Go. It's on the HGTV Go app right now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so
All right.
highly
And
available.
if anyone has any questions, I think now's a good time. Write a question for us, myself or Darren, and we'd be happy to answer it. But Darren, what are you currently working on?
Well, I'm going to be working for a GC here in Charleston, and like I said, he specializes in the Century Home. So really, really excited about that. I'll probably be launching a YouTube channel soon. Sawdust for breakfast. It's a little
Ooh, that's my
fun,
favorite thing for breakfast.
right?
Yeah,
And what else? What else? I've got a couple other little irons in the fire. Or what is that? Pans in the fire? I don't know what that.
I think it's irons in the fire.
It's irons in the fire. I got some
Yeah,
of those, so
yeah,
I'll keep
that's
you
awesome,
posted.
man.
Yeah.
All right, so Mark has a question here. We live in Los Angeles and have two dogs that love to run around the pool when we swim. The deck is concrete and it burns their paws. Is there anything that we can lay down to protect their paws from the extreme heat?
Hmm.
Now, I'm not from LA, but I know there are, for instance, there's cork products that you can actually place on concrete, which cork won't absorb the heat quite as much as concrete or asphalt would, but maybe a product like that. Again, I don't live in LA, so I'm not sure what's available there. But do you have any thoughts on that, Darren?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And or I don't know what the landscape looks like. Landscaping looks like, but
Hmm.
possibly turf. Some sort of a turf.
Yeah,
If you can bring that up to the somewhat close to the edge of the pool. I mean, obviously not on top of it, but might give the dogs a little bit of relief.
yeah. I know my dad's put a rubber membrane around his pool, and oh, look at that. My wife commented, "You were right, honey. The rocking chair was your second wedding anniversary present to me, not the
Oh,
third."
well, there you
I was
go.
right. It was like a
Good
test
job.
within a test. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Darren. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, getting to know you better, and hopefully, I can meet you in person. Maybe do some stuff on YouTube, and who knows, maybe on
Hey, man,
HG.
I would love that. I mean, the work you're doing, man, count me in.
Yeah, right back at you.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks again for joining. Again, for anyone that has missed the show, you can check it out online, and that is Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Always got to make sure I say that properly.
I still have to make sure I say it properly.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, man.
All right,
And if
brother.
for anyone who has any comments, questions, please write in the comments. I know I'll be on after trying to answer any of those questions or comments. And Darren, I'm not sure if you'll be on there as well. But you can also reach us on Instagram at Darren Keefe or at Mike Holmes Jr. and ask us questions there, or follow us and just see what we're up to.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.